welcome to class number 2 today on Sunday, October 22nd. Today we're going to talk about, well, I want to say bad nights, but we'll talk about unusual nights. And I have 3 examples, and coincidentally, they're from my games. Who would have thunk it? Not I. Would you have thunk it? No, he said no. Okay, so I'm going to show you 3 different positions from my games, but not the whole game. But and we're going to discuss, as Bob Seger would say, night moves. Okay, so this is actually one of my favorite games. I'm white against Grandmaster Dmitry Gurovich. Now, most of you know me as Grandmaster Ben Finegold, but it wasn't always the case. I wasn't a Grandmaster until I was 3. I was an IM at 1, and then I got all my norms at 2, and I had to do some FIDE stuff. No. So you all know I became a Grandmaster at 40. You knew that, right? And he nodded, but he didn't know. Okay, and he's like, yeah, I did. And this game was played when I was International Master, although as you can see, or maybe you can't see, depends on how good your vision is, I was higher rated than my opponent. So when I was an International Master, for much of the time, I had higher ratings than most Grandmasters, because I just didn't get norms. Anyway, I'm playing a Grandmaster in the last round, Dmitry Gurovich. He's beaten me several times. I've beaten him a few times. He probably still has a plus score. And this was in 2008. I wanted to show you the game earlier, but I was 2000 and late. Were you born in 2008? He raised his hand, so I was like, he must have been born then. Otherwise, why would he raise his hand? Okay, so this was played at the National Open in Las Vegas. I've probably been to Vegas at least 20 times, and probably 90% of the time or more, it was for the National Open. Okay. And this is held every year. Well, now it's held in June. It used to be held in March. And it used to be in Chicago. They can go back and forth. Okay, so this is the last round. I had 4 out of 5. And so there was a lot of dentists watching my game. No? Okay, he got it. You'll never get it. Okay. And was the game played at 2:30? It could have been. No, it was played at 5 o'clock. Okay, the National Open's funny because the last round's at 5. And before the round starts, they make 20 to 25 minutes of announcements. Yeah, and they give prizes away and all kinds of stuff. Mainly it's giving prizes away, so we don't really mind. Okay, now, in this position, which came from an Nimzo Indian, I played the move, G5 attacking his knight, and I better play that move because this lecture is about knights. And in this particular instance, it's about an offside knight because black played the obvious move.
Knight H5.
Knight H5, very good. That's correct. And I actually haven't looked at this game in a while, but I mean the other move is Knight G8, and the engine says Knight H5 is better. So, okay. Now, when you see this position, you may think, well, there's a bishop here and there's a knight here. We should try to win the knight. And for a lower rated player, that's the normal procedure. Take your opponent's pieces. Okay. Now, unfortunately, when I'm playing somebody who's about my level or a little bit better, a little bit worse, you could argue which one of us is better, I don't just take things for free. Now when I play you at home or you in the audience, all right, then take everything. Okay, hurt my arm, taking everything. So Grandmasters don't give all their pieces away, but what you can do to some people is you can restrict their pieces. And this is something you guys don't do, but if you did, you'd be higher rated. And the term we use in chess is domination. It's when your opponent can't move. Obviously, the black knight, if it moved to one of the 3 possible squares it can go to, those would all be terrible. While the knight's on the side of the board and it can't move, let's keep it that way. So the rest of the game, I wasn't necessarily interested in taking his knight. I was just interested in having his knight be stupid forever, because then I would probably win. You with some comment. No comment? Okay. So I played Rook G1, and Rook G1, I don't like this bishop on the same diagonal as my rook. I like that my pawn is defended, because that stops knight f6. And I wasn't going to castle kingside. I played G4, G5. So I wasn't really planning on castling over there. Not when his bishop can do that. Wow, his bishop can do that. His queen, his knight. I'm not castling over there. Okay. He played H6. Now, you might say, why did he play H6? You probably did say that at home. Why did he play H6? And the reason is, he doesn't want my G-pawn to be there. If my G-pawn's not there, he can play knight F6, and his knight's not trapped, right? I want his knight to be trapped. So what did I do to maintain my G-pawn?
H4.
Put it in H, H4. And which grandmaster likes that move?
You.
Yeah, but there's a much funnier answer than that, which you know the answer to and you're not saying it. Simon Williams, okay? And this is funny because even though people make fun of Simon Williams like I do about like, Harry and putting it in H, well, I like moving my H pawn, but I don't tell anybody, okay? And he's sort of proud of it, that, H4, H5. And I think, if I remember correctly, which I don't, in game 1 of the match, I played H4, rawr, H5, and eventually I won, although not for that reason. Especially not for that reason. What's that?
Didn't you play deathmatch against
I did, and I'm still alive, so I guess I won. Okay, now there's a movie you're not allowed to see, and I mean ever. You can never see this movie. It's called Balls of Fury. Did you see that? Oh, it's with Christopher Walken, and then some really terrible actors. Oh no, one other actor that I like is in it. Henry Wong, maybe? Anyway, it doesn't matter. The point of the story is, it's a ping pong tournament, Balls of Fury. And the first match ends, and Christopher Walken shoots the guy who lost. And the guy who won is like, what's happening? He says, what didn't you understand about sudden death? Okay. So if you lose the ping pong match, they kill you. It's a good movie. It's not a good movie. They know it's not a good movie when they made it. It's funny though. Okay, now this is a death match, and somehow we're both alive. So as we speak, chess.com is getting sued by everybody. I mean, if we're both alive, then it's a real misnomer. Okay, now, Simon Williams likes to not only move his H-pawn and name his H-pawn, but he's sort of proud of it. I move my H-pawn a lot, but I'm like sort of kidding. Although I seem to win a lot with it, so I don't know. Okay, so I move my H-pawn. This was in 2008. I never heard of Simon Williams then. I mean, maybe I haven't heard of him now, I don't know. Okay, so H4, put it in H. In fact, my opponent played H6, I guess Simon was right. Okay, and the point of H4 isn't to attack his king or win material. I just like my pawn here because it restricts his knight. Restricting your opponent's pieces is a very advanced concept, but we do it a lot at the top level, we just don't tell you. And then when our opponent's pieces can't move, and they move them anyway, then we win. And then when they don't move them, we also win. And which world champion, and I'll accept many answers, was famous for restricting their opponent's pieces?
Petrosian.
Petrosian's a good answer. Karpov's a good answer. There's other good answers, but yeah, Petrosian's who you think of.
Magnus.
And who's that? Magnus, Magnus is okay. He's mainly good at speaking Norwegian. I would say, of all the world champions, Magnus speaks the best Norwegian. Yeah?
Probably.
Yeah. Probably if you took like any two things, like good, probably that's the biggest difference is Magnus speaking Norwegian and, yeah. Okay. Now, what was I saying? Magnus, Norwegian, Petrosian. Yeah. Restricting your opponent's pieces. Okay. My opponent played take on c4. I took on c4. Knight c6. Just developing our pieces. And is this where I made the move that I'm proud of? Probably not. No, I played rook c1, I think. Oh, pretty good. It was 9 years ago. Good memory, right? Okay. And he played rook c8. This might be it. Oh, maybe I played queen b1 here. Let's see. Yeah, okay. There's a move I want to show you, but okay, I keep forgetting the game. Okay, then queen a. Oh, I played knight e4. Okay, this is. I actually did the maneuver differently. Okay, now all of you have heard of the Breyer variation of the Ruy Lopez. Okay, now what's funny about that is I was on Facebook today for obvious reasons. I'm on Facebook every day, like 50 times. And the first thing I saw was like a book review about Breyer. And I was like, what? Because you don't see, he was alive before everybody was born. He was the only person on the earth. Okay, so it was like 110 years ago he was playing chess. And in the Ruy Lopez, the famous maneuver is knight b8, knight d7. And there's thousands and thousands of grandmaster games. Well, I did that here. I decided I wanted my knight here. Then I defend this knight, I defend this pawn, my rook is opposing his queen, and my bishop is open on the diagonal. So I did that. I played knight e4, and then we traded, and I played knight back to d2. So now I like this better than before. I like this better, and I like that my knight's defending my knight. So I actually like this position better. Okay, and I was actually proud of that, and we're talking about knights, so. Okay, so these knights I think are all pretty good. Yeah, that's pretty good. His knight's all up on my grill. My knights are defending each other. My knights are defending all the central squares. And he can't play queen h2 because of my knight. His knight on h5, no good. Okay. So he played bishop a8, always retreat, lining up with my queen. I played a3, kicking out his knight. And then queen a1, now I have a threat. Roar! Okay. He played bishop f8, following my rule.
Always play bishop.
Always play bishop f8. I think during the game, I think I suggested king f8. Okay, so bishop f8. Now, if he resigns soon, he's in good stead because he doesn't have to send these pieces back up. So that's pretty good, right? If I resign, I'm in a lot of trouble.
You castle your queen?
Yeah, I gotta reset everything. I can't. It's the last round. So, okay. So bishop f8, bishop c3, getting off of his rook, d6, c5. Okay, so you may have noticed this pawn is isolated, but you didn't care because this is about knights. But by trading these pawns off, now he has an isolated pawn, and my isolated pawn is gone. That was nice. Okay, I like that. Okay, rook d8, which is a bad move. Bishop b5. So here, bishop b5 would be risky because he takes it. So now he played here, now I can pin his knight. So this knight's pinned, and this knight's offsides and terrible. So his position's not good. Okay, now what's funny about this is, when I teach chess, I'm like, you should castle, and you should do this, and you should do that. And instead, nobody castled. That's why we're on the top boards in the last round, because we're so good. Okay, so he played rook h7. That's what I teach my students. Now, he didn't like this action over here. So he figured maybe he could play rook h7 and move his g-pawn and maybe get his knight back into the game. Try to get his knight going. g6. Now you might say, excuse me, Grandmaster Finegold, which is how you should address me, so thank you. You should say, you were telling us how your pawn is restricting his knight, and then you move your pawn. Yeah? Okay, and the reason is tactical, but the other reason is he definitely wants to play g6, which he couldn't have played last move. And then his knight can come back into the game. Okay, but after g6, now I can punish his rook, and his other knight's pinned. Okay, queen b1, threatening queen g6 check. And you have to agree that would be good for white. You don't have to agree, but you should. Okay, he played rook h6. I took on g6. And I got my knight going. So I think this is the position where he went crazy. So here white's winning, but he started playing very strangely now. Okay, and the reason is this knight's not good, this knight can't move, this knight's awesome, right? Now, I have a funny story to tell because it kills time. So there's a master who's a very unusual person and chess player in Georgia. What's his name? You could name any master.
Zapata?
No, he's a very normal person. Yeah, I want unusual. And Zapata's a grandmaster. This is just a master. In fact, you almost had a fist fight with him last week. He's like, now I know who it is. You know his name?
Dave?
Dave Vest, right. And Dave Vest is sure, he has a lot of theories, some people don't agree with. This theory is interesting because I'm lecturing about it. Maybe he's smarter than I thought. Dave has a theory that the reason people who are higher rated than lower rated players, one reason is they know how to get their knights going. He's like, once that knight gets going, nothing you can do about it. Now, obviously, there's a lot of reasons why people are better than other people. I've never heard that before, but this is actually a good example. His knight on h5 is terrible, his other knight is pinned, and here comes my knight. So Dave would like this game because I'm working on my knight moves, right? And you never heard of Bob Seger, so I can't make any jokes. Okay, obviously,
Rook takes e6.
knight takes e6, that'll show him. Okay, but I can't do that. There's a good reason why I can't do it. It's not my turn. Okay, he played knight f4. Now, that move is very suspicious, but he had enough. He's like, okay, my knight's been on h5 the whole game, that's too much. So obviously he's defending his pawn, you agree. And the other reason was he wants to play rook h1 check. Roar! Counterplay. Okay, in theory. I took his knight because it's a knight. And that reminds me of a very funny story. many years ago, I would say, how old am I? 48, carry the 1. I was about 12. So I was like 2000. And I was watching a game, and the player playing was Paul Pochel, who played in the 1949 U.S. Championship. He might have played in another one. I think that's the only one he played in. And for my whole life, he was 2300. He was never 2200. He's never 2400. So I was between 23 and 2400. And he was probably better than that before I was born, because he played the 1949 U.S. Championship. So, and he died about 2 years ago, or 1 year. He recently died. He was in his 80s. Anyway, I played him a lot. I usually lost because he was 2300 and I was a little kid. So. Anyway, I'm watching Pochel play, and the guy sacrificed a rook. And if Pochel takes the rook, the guy gets some counterplay like here. And I went to my dad, who was better than me, 2200. I said, do you think Pochel will take that rook? Because he's a pretty safe player. And my dad said, Pochel's a safe player, but a rook is a rook. I said, nobody's that safe. And Pochel took the rook, and the guy checked him a couple of times, and he won. And Pochel won. So I was thinking, man, this guy's going to get counterplay, but a knight's a knight. So I take that knight. I take stuff. Okay. So he played king d7, which is totally crazy, because even though rook h1 check is irrelevant, he just sacrificed a knight. And then he plays king d7, running away. So that's a very strange decision. Now obviously rook h1 does nothing. I can block with my knight. I can play my favorite move. If he plays rook h1 check, what's my favorite move? Why are you even looking at the board? What's my favorite move?
Making him resign.
Whenever I ask for moves, kids are like, resign, call his flag, always play.
Bishop F1.
Bishop F1, yeah. So rook h1 check doesn't do anything, it puts me in check. So he ran away with his king, but I got my knight moves going on. You see how my knight's doing stuff to him over here? So he sacrificed a knight, and they kept letting me attack him. Okay, rook e8, pinning my knight. Rook takes g7 check. King, yeah. Now, rook takes queen check wins. We can all agree to that. But like any professional athlete, I always want more. Okay? And what did Emmanuel Lasker say? You can say it in unison.
Checkmate's better than a queen.
Well, that's like what I would say. Because that doesn't, yeah. He said when you see a good move,
Look for a
Find a
better.
better.
find a better one. And my move is better than rook takes queen check. It's true. So I played the better move. Anybody?
Bishop.
Yeah.
A6.
Yeah, that guy's right. Yeah. The truth hurts. Yeah. Yeah, probably it's not good to have black here. Yeah. So I won, and then I tied for first. Yay! So I like tying for first and getting clear first and all that, but it's unfortunate because we're both professional chess players, and then I win, so I get a couple thousand, and then he loses and gets nothing. And if we draw, we both get nothing. So that's what kind of life is that? So I open a chess center so I can let other people do that, and I get the money either way. Yeah? No? Yeah, exactly. Yeah. There's a movie that you never heard of, and you've seen 4 or 5 times, called...
It.
No, you've never seen it. You never heard of it. Called... What's it called? What? I can't remember the name of the movie. Wow. You take me to the home now. Eddie Murphy, Dan Aykroyd, Jamie Lee Curtis.
Trading Places.
Trading Places. Wow, I can't remember Trading Places. You saw it 4 or 5 times, right?
Yes.
Yeah. See, I know my audience. In Trading Places, what was I mentioning Trading Places? Oh, okay. I was saying, when you play in a tournament, you get first place, you get money. You don't get first place, you get nothing. I said, or you could run the tournament and you get money either way. In Trading Places, they explained to Eddie Murphy that when you buy stocks, you can make money or lose money, but we're the stockbrokers, we get the commissions either way. So it's the money whether our customers make or lose money. And then Eddie Murphy says, oh, I get it, you're a couple of bookies. And then the guy says, see, I told you he'd understand. Okay, so, yeah, it's unfortunate when you lose the last round, then you drive home 6 hours knowing that you don't have any money to pay your rent. That happened a lot too. So this is a game I won, so we'll just think about that, right? Yeah, so don't play chess for a living, yeah. Okay, so in that game, I actually had really good knights. I got this knight over here, that defended all these key squares, and defended my knight, got out of the way of my bishop, and his knight was pinned to his king the whole game, and this knight was on h5 the whole game, he just gave it away. Boo! I mean, for him. Okay, and then the computer gives some crazy number, or says mate. Okay, just says mate. Yeah. Okay. Now the next two games are different. Okay, in that game, my opponent put his knight on h5, and I just kept it there the whole game, and just gave it away. I didn't win it, he just like, here, I don't want my knight. Okay, that was a strange decision to then not play rook h1 check. That's what you call giving up. Okay, I've lectured on that game before, but you forgot and you never knew. Okay, now the next game is against Gazzoli. And this was played in the Pro Chess League, which in a few days we're trying to qualify for. You already know if we qualify, but we don't know. You guys are smart. And that'll be played here on Saturday. If we qualify, we get to play the whole year. If we don't, we're done. We're out. Okay, so Gazzoli is board 3 for a French team, the Marseille Migraines.
Oh, then.
And the only thing funnier than their team name is listening to Mike Kummer try to pronounce Marseille. Now that was funny. Yeah, you can only imagine at home. Okay, that was hilarious. I was like, what team? He kept telling me, oh, Marseille. Man, it said like 4 times. And I was like, oh, okay. Anyway, Marseille Migraines got MVL on board 1, and they got Bacro on board 2. And he checkmated me on the Bacro, if you know what I mean. Say no. Okay,
Yes.
and then they have Gazzoli on 3, who I never heard of, and he's like 2,600 feet, 80. Okay, then on board 4 they had Doofus, so I beat him. Okay, so I'm playing Gazzoli, and this is the last game of the match, I think. Yeah, it was. Okay, I lost the first 2 games to MVL and Bacro. I had better positions against both of them. And then I beat their guy on board 3, who's like 2,000. And the guy on board 3, when I lived in Europe, his dad beat me. I'm serious, his dad's a GM, but he's not a GM. So. Okay, his name is de Grave, and his dad's Jean-Marc de Grave, and his name is Remy de Grave, I think. Okay, anyway, I'm playing Gazzoli, and he's pretty high rated. Now, let's flip the board, in case Mike Commer's watching, he can get mad at me for 2 reasons. Okay, now, you guys are like, well, wait a minute, this is a night lecture, what are you talking about? Now, you can see it's pretty blocked, and in this position, White played rook to b1, ignoring the king's side, which he changed his mind later. Okay, now, if you could cheat and put Black's knight anywhere on the board, not like to take a queen, just, you know, on a good square. What are 2 very good squares for Black's knight? This is a hard question, I don't expect you to get it right.
One is D2.
D4.
D2? Here?
Yeah.
What?
D4.
That's checkmate. You take the king.
No, taking the king's not checkmate. What class are you in? Okay, D4, that's a good square. I agree. And there's another square that's hard to see because there's something on it. So that helps. It's being occupied. And you should have learned this in some other class or some teacher, or maybe you didn't, because this is the second class. So, generally, when your opponent has a passed pawn, the best piece to block it with is a knight. You've probably heard that or you've seen it. So therefore, the answer is?
A5.
That's not a passed pawn on A4.
Oh, you're right.
Yeah. He has a passed pawn. Do you see where it is? Where's White's passed pawn? Where is it? Anybody? No? Too hard?
D5.
Where?
D5.
Yeah, so where should my knight go?
D6.
D6, but that's impossible, or so you thought. So the obvious way to go is knight e7, knight c8, move my bishop, knight d6. Nothing wrong with that. Getting to d4 would be cheating, right? All the squares that go to d4 are protected. So that's, yeah, I can't, yeah. Okay, so, and I learned this from a previous game, and let's have a commercial break here. The way to get better at chess is to do things that are dumb, and then go, oh, that was dumb, I won't do that again, then don't do that again, right? Okay, and now what television show am I thinking of? Hold on. I don't know. Don't do that. Yeah, it's something like, it hurts when I do that, don't do that.
Yeah.
I think it was Sanford and Son. I think that happened a lot on Sanford and Son, by the way. I think that was a common theme. Okay, so if you do things that aren't good, then stop doing them, right? Okay, now this maneuver I learned from another game. So when you learn stuff that's good, you should do it. When you learn stuff that's bad, don't do it. Then eventually you get good at chess. The reason I'm better at chess than you is I played chess for 45 years and you've played chess for 45 seconds. right? So I did a lot of really bad stuff, and then I stopped. And then when people did stuff that was good, I was like, oh, that's good, then I stole it. Okay? Like, if you have a picture on the internet that's nice, you steal it, use it on your website. That's how the world works. Okay, so this was done to me by a future world champion, which is actually our next game. But it's a surprise. Okay? And that's the move that I made here. The move you would never think of. So think of a move you would never think of, and that's the answer.
Queen takes h4.
Very good, except this lecture is about moving the knight around and knight to d6 and stuff like that. So it's probably going to be a knight move. There's only one possible answer, but they won't say it. They're too dumbfounded.
Knight f4.
Knight f4.
Wow, they still can't say it. When they walked in, they were dumb. Now they're dumbfounded.
Knight e7.
We just looked at knight e7. We just looked at it.
Oh, h8, knight h8.
Knight h8. I like the way you give your knight away before you play knight h8. That's how crazy it is to you. Okay. Now I wouldn't think of knight h8, except in this particular opening, I play knight h8 a lot. And one of the reasons is when my knight's on g6 and they play h5, I got to move my knight somewhere. Now here I did it voluntarily. So not only do I want to put my knight on d6, obviously now via f7, but I might want to play f5 later, which I think I did. So that, I killed two birds that way. As a vegetarian, it's the only way I can do it. I can't do it. Yeah, exactly. He actually got one. Okay, so I played knight h8. Is knight h8 a good move? Nah. Now, this is actually quite funny. Well, I think it's funny. In the Pro Chess League, I won and drew against a lot of good players. And some people were suspicious. They're like, Ben Finegold's no good, and he beat these good players, so maybe he's cheating. Because people cheat on the internet. They're using a computer or something. And what's funny is, all the games that I won against good players, like Mamajarov and Gazzoli and Conrad Holt and so forth, I mean, the computer don't play none of my moves. They're like, oh, he wasn't cheating. The computer's like, you're getting crushed every game. Every game the computer says getting crushed, and then I didn't play any of my moves, and then I won. Okay, because I don't play like a computer, I play terrible. But I have an idea, so, it works. Okay, so I played knight h8. Computer would never play that. Okay. He played rook b2, that's why he played rook b1. He's going to come get me over here. Okay. I played f6, breaking my rule.
Never play
f6. But you know why I played f6? Knights go, yeah. Okay. And we continue. Okay, here comes my knight. Yeah.
The rule should be almost never play f6.
Yeah. And then I played b5 because the guy started pushing his kingside pawns, so we better play over here. Okay. And that was good. Rawr, c4. c4 is
Explosive.
right. Okay. Now you'll notice, yay, I played bishop c5. Are you in my class? Say yes.
No.
So why did I play bishop c5? Why? We'll call on this gentleman.
To
The whole class, the whole lesson, everything I said.
to move your knight.
No, I played knight d6, and now I can play knight d6. Yeah, right. Okay. And so that happened. Okay, now I could give a lecture about this position. I could, but I'm not. In this position, I played the best move. This is a move that's hard for humans to find, which I've lectured about before, because of your favorite British grandmaster, who's also a mathematician and astronomer.
Simon Williams.
Ooh, that was a good answer. I like that. Simon Williams, that's a funny answer. No, let's get a stronger player who's better at all that stuff. You can do it. Got a PhD when he was 19 in math. Come on, you can do it. Now you can't do it?
A person who got.
Well, you never heard of him. John Nunn.
Oh, I didn't know that.
You heard John Nunn?
Of course.
He has heard John Nunn. Okay, John Nunn was a good chess player 35 years ago. He was top 10 in the world. Now he's old like me. He's even older than me. Yeah. Isn't that amazing? Okay, and yeah, he's written a lot of really good books, and he's great at everything. And John Nunn coined a term, which is the move that I played here. See, I learned. I'm like, oh, what would Nunn do? Okay, and he said this is hard for humans to find. It's when you move your piece towards a piece that you can capture, but you stop. He said that humans can't find those moves.
Queen d4.
Queen d4 check. That's the best move. Yeah. And now, what's funny is, if he plays king e2, which is the best move, now I shouldn't play knight d6 because things have changed. I should play knight h6. This is actually very funny. And the reason it's funny is these guys aren't doing a good job of defending this g-pawn. They're not doing a good job. And if you push the g-pawn, then the truth hurts.
Huh.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, he showed disdain and he's like 10. How old are you?
9.
You're 9? Nice. So when I said he was 10, he said 9, but he speaks German, so I don't know. Okay, so this is funny because my knight is doing a lot of work. Knight g6, knight h8, knight f7. His knight on c3 just sits there doing nothing. Looks good, does nothing. Can't make any of the jokes I want to make, so we'll continue. Okay. Man, if I can't make the joke, then it's pretty bad. Okay, when the game ended, he was very cordial. I thought he was just saying, I was crushing you, and you suck. I can't believe I lost to you, idiot. Instead, he's like, wow, you played great. And I was like, what? He was a very nice guy after the game. We discussed the game. Usually when people lose and you're lower rated and they had an advantage, they're like, lucky. Okay, he was like, hey, you're great. I was like, what? Okay, can you believe it? A French person who wasn't, okay. So anyway, he took on d4, and after the game I said, I think you should play king e2. And he's like, oh, you played knight h6 and I'm lost. And we're both right. King e2 is slightly better than what he did, and after knight h6 he's lost. Now knight h6 would have been hard to play because I was like knight d6, knight d6, knight d6, but then knight h6 is winning, so. After knight d6 I'm better, but I'm not winning. But after knight h6 I am winning. So he took this, and now I have another good square for my knight, which just opened up.
E5.
E5, wow, that's solid. Yeah. Now I'm winning a piece because I'm attacking a piece. If it moves, I have a fork. So I'm winning a piece here. Okay. And I did. And yeah, now I got another square for my knight. So it's funny. I wanted to play knight d6. If he had played king e2, I should play knight h6. And then I played knight e5. And his knight disappeared. I'm a piece up, so I won with a piece up. Not really part of the lecture, but we can continue. My knight's still good. Yeah, I got to d6. Yeah, what a good knight. By the way, in this position, I'm threatening knight takes e4 because his bishop's pinned. So he unpinned it. Yeah. And in this position, probably when he played rook f3, his intention was e5. Probably. And then what do I do?
King e7.
Giving my knight away? In a knight lecture? No.
Oh, knight e4.
Close.
Knight c4.
Knight c4 check, winning his pawn. Man, that knight's pretty good, isn't it? Yeah. Okay, now I'm a piece up, so I won. Yay, my knight's still good. Yeah, my knight's always really good. Wow, I did a lot of work with that knight. Now, he resigned. If he goes here, what's the best move? By far the best. Not even close. I was surprised he resigned. I thought he would play that. I would play the best move and he would resign. But he's too easy.
Rook d1.
Rook d1. Wow, really good. Yeah, then I just take his pawn. If I don't play rook d1, he's got some chances. Because the pawn's pretty good. He's like, yeah, you go there, resign. I was like, all right. So that was a good example of my knight. That knight did a lot. That knight made a lot of moves. His knight on c3, I took it. Because the knight on c3 looks good, but my knight was going to better squares. So you might say knight h8, that was a weird move. How'd you think of that? I didn't think of it. I stole my ideas. And I often, in this variation, when I play knight g6, which I do a lot, I play knight h8 sometimes. You just got to move it around in a good square. You got to use h8. Now, there was a world champion who's famous for using the back rank to reposition his pieces. Anyone? You might have even heard of him. Maybe. I think you've heard of him. Karpov.
Yeah, I heard of him.
Yeah, Karpov liked to use the back rank, and actually, as I've said in previous lectures, Yasser Serouan calls that a billiard shot. So you got a piece over here, and you want to go over there, but there's pieces in the way, so you go that way. You see what I'm saying? Yeah. And I show my game with Balashov a lot, where my queen was on a4. I play queen d1, queen h5, rawr, and then I sack my queen to mid. Okay, and I stole that from Tal. That was a Tal Botvinnik game. He did the same thing. So I steal all my good ideas, okay? But if you good idea, you steal it. Okay, so where did I steal it from? Thanks for asking. How do I go to the next game? I don't? Okay. Okay. So this is my game with Anand, with Vishy Anand.
Did you win?
You know, I was white this game, but let's show it from Black's point of view. Okay, the game was a draw. So. And this is when I met Anand, and this was in '86 in England. And he didn't win the tournament, and I obviously didn't win the tournament. This is my first time abroad, and I met Anand, became friends. And I have a lot of funny Anand stories, which I could tell the whole lecture. But this was the first time we played, and this was our only FIDE rated game. We played dozens of Blitz games, and we played in a tournament that wasn't FIDE rated, that was game 30. I forgot who won that game, but I didn't forget. And it wasn't me, and it wasn't a draw, but I still forgot. You don't do that. Okay, so I'm playing, I'm white, obviously I'm down a piece, right? White's down a piece, okay. And black has a very serious threat on my F2 pawn, so I played rook C2. Now, you don't know this, well you might, and you might know at home. Anand, between 1980, whatever, we'll say 82, I don't know, and until he was about 30 years old, he moved instantly. Anand was the fastest player in the world, and it was well known for that. He would play other grandmasters, the game would end, it was a 45 move game, and he took like 12 minutes. Okay, and I never met Anand, but this was, yeah, and he's moving instantly. So he played a move I would never consider, and he played it instantly. Of course, in my class, it's easy now.
Knight.
Where? It's like they're not in my class. I told you I learned from this game. I learned from the last game. I learned that. This is
Oh, H8.
Knight H8. He played Knight H8 without thinking, and I was like, what? What world am I in? But I've used that maneuver many, many times, so thank you. Also, I didn't lose the game. And Knight H8 actually makes a lot of sense, because the knight can not only go to D6, it can also go to G5 and start harassing me here, although not that way. And it could take my pawn on E4. It wasn't that Knight H8 is unusual or great, it's unusual and great. He did it instantly. And I was like, what, Knight H8? I never would have thought of that move. Now, of course, that's all I think about because of this game. So I'm trying to explain how to get better at chess. It's, you see something you never saw, it's good, now you do it. It's bad, now you don't do it. And over a period of time, you get better. You're older than me, so you must be better than me. See, that's how we gained all this knowledge. Yeah?
You beat me 4 times last week.
Yeah, but we played 20 games. Okay. So, by the way, that's a funny story you were telling about how I beat you 4 times. Anand in 1988 stayed in my apartment in Brussels, and we played one day, we played Blitz, and it was 9-9. That was the score. We split. And he's better, now Anand wasn't Anand in 88, he was like 2550 FIDE, and I was like 2400 FIDE. So he was better than me, but he wasn't like, 2800 Anand. He didn't like 9-9, because he's a famous Blitz player. And then we played the next day, he beat me 20-0. The truth hurts. Yeah. And there's a lot of Anand stories about him playing Blitz at tournaments, like for fun, and it wasn't fun for the other guy. Yeah. Now I'll tell you the greatest Anand story ever told by anybody ever. Okay, the world's most modest person, Hikaru Nakamura, he told me years ago that a sponsor set up a Blitz match between Nakamura and Kasparov.
Oh.
And this was years ago. This was when Kasparov had just retired, he was still Kasparov. And Hikaru was better at Blitz then than he is now, because now he's old. But he was like 20 or something. And Kasparov wouldn't do it. And it was like $100,000 to the winner. And it was like a one-day Blitz match. He's like, I'm not doing it. So he didn't do it. So it didn't happen. And then I said, you might even win that match to Hikaru. And he said, oh, I would definitely win that match. He says, I wouldn't beat Anand, but I would beat Kasparov. And I was like, wow. I never heard Hikaru say he couldn't beat somebody. So he thought Anand was better than him in Blitz, at that time. And I was like, wow, he's right, but I couldn't believe he said that. Yeah. So he thought more highly of Anand's Blitz game than Kasparov's, which I don't know if that's true, but that just shows you. That guy could play Blitz chess. Okay. What's funny is Anand is the oldest person who ever lived, and he's still good, right? Other people who are Anand's age or older, like Gelfand and Ivanchuk, who you still have a lot of, you're like, oh, those guys are good. They are good, but you look at the rating list, they're not top 10, and they're never going to be top 10. Anand's still top 10. Anand never leaves the top 10. Now, obviously, Ivanchuk and Gelfand are good, and Nigel Short's okay, but they ain't top 10. right? And Nigel's like trying to be 2,700, he's like
Is
trying.
he older than Kramnik?
Oh yeah, Kramnik's young compared to yeah, he is. That's a different generation, yeah, Kramnik's like 41. Yeah. Those guys are 48, 49, yeah, those guys are serious. Yeah, and okay, Nigel's like 52 or something. But Anand, whatever you say about him, he's top 10. And I know, and he's like 20 years older than the other guys in the top 10, so. Anyway, he played knight h8 and I was like, what? And then I was like, oh, yeah, I like that move. That makes sense. Okay, the rest of the game is ridiculous, but that's not the point. Now, you guys know from my Simon Williams match, and that's actually my next lecture, so I know you'll be happy, that, well, you could argue he's a bad endgame player. Maybe he is. You could argue he's a bad blitz player. However, it's well known, I can prove it, that I draw and win a lot of lost positions. Maybe I shouldn't be lost so often. Maybe I'm used to it. And actually, it sounds silly. I talk about having experience, then you learn. When I was a little kid, I lost a lot. How did I lose a lot? If you thought you lost, I was in a different league. I was losing over 100 rated games a year for years, because I played a lot. So I was used to losing. And I had a lot of losing positions, and I'm trying not to lose. And I would lose anyway, because I was, 1,100. And now when I have losing positions, I'm like, yeah, it doesn't matter, I'm always losing. And then I fight and I don't lose. So all those positions I didn't lose to Simon was because I don't give up. I like try hard, and then I draw sometimes, or even occasionally win. And this is a good example. Like, I'm down a piece here. And if you turn on the engine, which I don't know if I've ever even done it. I probably did it years ago. No, I'm losing, right? That's my +2, yeah. Okay, but I don't lose. Rawr! Now, you ready to be surprised? You're sitting down, right? In about 20 moves, I'm a piece up. So I won 2 pieces. And it's still a draw. Man, chess is tough. Okay, so I can move my knight too. Yes. Okay, we get our knights going. It's a knight lecture. His knight went to d6. Man, that's better than g6. G6 was terrible, right? That was a horrible score. He couldn't go anywhere. Now he's got the best score on the board. Yeah, and I'm like, get your knight out of there. And he's like, sure, I'll take everything. Now, what compensation does White have for being down a piece? What's his only hope? He's got one hope.
Checkmate.
Nah, he won't let me checkmate him. He's a good player. My mom's middle name is Hope. But the true story. I'm not making that up. That's true. If White's down a piece and he's not checkmating black, what's his only hope here in this position? He's got one hope. No, nobody?
Maybe the pawns,
Well, this pawn. Yeah, that pawn.
Yeah.
Yeah, that pawn. Yeah. That's a good hope, isn't it? Okay, what would Luke Skywalker say? He would say a new hope, right? No? All right, so the kid's like, yeah, I get that. Okay, so d6, let's go. His knight was on the best square ever. I'm like, get out. And he's like, no, you can't play d7. And I'm like, yes, I can. And the director's like, stop talking. Okay. Yeah. And we keep going. Get my pawn going. Now in this position, I'm threatening his knight and his rook. So he sacks a piece. And we have an endgame with even pawns, but my king's no good, and his bishop's better than my knight, and his king's better than mine. So let's see what the engine says. I don't know. It says it's a draw, but black's better. Okay, that's actually what happened. Okay, and my knight's still going. I still got a knight. I got 2 pawns to 1. And I played a5. Complicated. Yeah. So obviously if he takes with the pawn, I can get this guy going. Okay? And if he takes with the bishop and I take, he can't take, this pawn's queening. So he did take, and now what did he do? The only move. Careful.
King takes b5.
Correct. Yeah. Now I'm a piece up. Yes. And the game ended in a draw, which it should have.
No, it should.
Yeah. And I played the funny move. It's the funniest move on the board. It's very similar to earlier in the lecture. It's just the opposite. It's opposite day.
knight A1.
Now, see, there's the guy who's watching the lecture. Yeah. So he played knight h8 and I played knight a1. That's why we're grandmasters. And you're some guy sitting at home like, wait, I have to rewind this. What's happening? Like, rewind. What is VHS? How old are you? Okay. So that's amazing that he played knight h8 and I played knight a1, and those moves were very reasonable. That's why we're doing this lecture. when you move your knight, sometimes your knight has to go to a square it can't get to, so you gotta move it around, you gotta get there. Now I don't have to play knight A1, but that's pretty funny, right? And then we agree to a draw. Because, well, I can just leave my knight there, or I could go back and forth. If he takes my knight, I stalemate him forever. And I play king c1, king c2 until he runs out of pawn moves. Right? And eventually he'll run out of pawn moves. Stalemate. Right? Yeah. And in fact, I can prove it's equal because I have an engine, which I didn't have, you know. Okay, and it says every move's a draw, well, two of them, and then knight A1, all zeros, everything. That's when you know it's a draw, when everything's all zeros, not when one move is, when they all are. I'm like, well, okay, draw. And then, wow, it's making a lot of noise for the first time. It's really mad. It's like, well, this is the craziest game ever, how is it a draw? Anyway, that was the tournament I met Anand, and he played knight H8, and you're like, so? And I've played knight H8 with my knight on G6 like 10 times since then, because I like the way that worked out. And my knight goes to a better square, and I can show you game after game. In the other game we looked at with Dmitry Gurevich, the knight's on H5, and I'm like, ooh, let's trap that. So you guys are like, knight H5, that was a good move. Knight H8, that's no good. And my lecture proved otherwise until the next lecture. In the King's Indian, you often see knight H5, F5, knight F4, rawr. But in the game I showed you, the knight H5 was no good. When somebody plays knight H8, you're like, is this a beginner's tournament? But I do it, world champions do it, and then I play knight A1 to show them who the boss is. You know who the boss is? Him. Yeah. I tried to show him who the boss was, but I was wrong. So, knight maneuvering is a very interesting thing, and we'll finish the lecture with something that's sort of funny. I can't actually show you, but I can almost show you. So that's good enough, right? Like, almost showing you is better than showing you, right? And I've shown this to a lot of my students. You put a queen in the middle of the board, and you put a knight in the corner. Now this is the position, but I can't set it up because it won't let me set position without kings. But there are no kings in my puzzle. We'll put kings in there so the computer doesn't yell at us. Okay, and, well, I flipped the board so you're confused. Okay, so the goal of this is to go to every square. And then go to this one. And then you keep doing it and you end up here. And you can never move the knight to a square the queen attacks. Never. Never. So this is your first two moves. And then you see what I'm saying? See, then you try, so you can't go to B1. You go to C1. Then D1. So if your knight's on C1, you would go here. You see what I'm saying? Then you don't go to E1 because you can't. So if your knight's on D1, what's the next square?
F2.
F1. I mean, what's the next square you're supposed to go to? F1. So how do you get to F1? And the answer is not easy. Well, not for you guys. And the answer is this. Now for me it's easy. For you guys it's impossible. And then this is actually harder. If your knight's here and you want to go to G1, right? Not easy, is it? You see how hard that is for you guys?
No.
Yeah.
Eesh.
Right? Yeah, that's hard. Right? And of course you would want to do that, but you're not allowed to because the queen can go there. You see what I'm saying? Yeah. Anyway, when you move your knight around and do this exercise, you get really good at maneuvering the knight eventually. This is too easy for me. For my students, it's too hard. They're like, this is impossible. Okay? For you at home, it's impossible. Don't try, you'll start crying. Okay? For grandmasters who have done it before, it's pretty easy. I can get to this, which is the last square, in about a minute and a half. For somebody who hasn't done it before, who's like 1700, an hour. Maybe. Or they give up crying. Also possible. Okay? And that's because I can maneuver my knight, because I do that a lot when I play chess. I'm like, my knight would be good there, and I find a good way to get there. And in chess, you can't just move where you want, because your opponent will take it. You gotta, there's some obstacles, right? So in chess, where your knight is can often be improved. That's why I like trapping my opponent's knight so they can't move it anywhere. And there's famous trappings of the knight. Like, you have a knight on this square, your opponent's bishop is on this square, he's controlling all the squares your knight can move to. So your knight can easily get trapped if other pieces are trapping it, as in the first game. In the second and third game, the knight looks stupid, but it's not trapped, it just makes itself smart, right? It's sort of like me, I was stupid, now I'm smart. And then what's going to happen later in life?
You become stupid.
I become stupid, that's right. See, that guy knows what he's talking about. You start life in diapers, and that's where you end. Okay, so my wife might cut that, you never know. She has to watch the video. All right, see you guys next hour, next week, etc. Don't come next week, but I have a good reason. We're closed next week. When I say next week, I mean Sunday. There's no classes next Sunday. If you come, we'll be locked up tight. And we have an alarm, so don't, yeah, we do. And we'll close Saturday also. Don't come next Saturday or Sunday. Roar! Right? Also, what's the most important thing you learned today? No. Roar! All right, see you guys next class. I'm out.